I live in a constant state of fear and misery. Do you miss me anymore?
No.
And I don't even notice when it hurts anymore.
I'm done with Marvel's Avengers. Playing this game is no longer any fun, but more of a challenge and a bore. From the literal moment I launched Marvel's Avengers to the inevitable rage quit, there's never a point at which I go, man, I'm glad I'm playing this game. Like, I usually play my video games after I've wrapped up a long and demanding day of school, and this has come to feel more like homework than anything else. A lot of people ask me why I even bother with this game in the first place. But Marvel's Avengers actually has a special place in my cold, cold heart. This was the game I hopped on the bandwagon for. This was the game I was ahead of the curve on. I invested myself in Marvel's Avengers. But do you believe me if I told you that one of the main reasons I got an Xbox system was so that I could play Marvel's Avengers when it was released? I remember exactly how I felt watching the announcement teaser for #reassemble. Truth be told, back when it was called the #reassemble, I didn't even know what it was. I just wanted to be a part of it. Learning that it was the sacred Marvel's Avengers multiplayer video game that had supposedly been in the works for the last few years blew my mind. Square played everything very close to the chest. I genuinely remember thinking it had been canceled at least 4 times. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it was just a joke. There was absolutely nothing about Marvel's Avengers for the longest time. Then we go through the whole re-announcement, revealing, and scheduled releasing of Marvel's Avengers. I know it's nothing new for video games to be pushed back time and again. I mean, just look at Cyberpunk. But this felt somewhat different. Something about the dates they were choosing. I think a part of myself always knew it was going to be released unfinished. It was just a matter of how finished was the game gonna be. And then we get to the day of release. Man, that was magical. Marvel's Avengers is the only game I've ever pre-ordered and played on day of release. And boy howdy did I feel like a special little snowflake. I was determined to get through the story campaigns on my own, no spoilers whatsoever, to fully immerse myself in Marvel's Avengers. All my friends may have scoffed me, but look at me now, playing as Iron Man, soaring through the sky, Hulk smashing up the ground. Oh, give it a day or two, and then they'd all get themselves a copy, and we'd all be one big happy family in Marvel's Avengers. Even playing the game for the very first time, going through that horrific story campaign, I'm serious, I can't even talk about it. It was messed up. Okay, since I already mentioned the story campaign, let's go all the way down the rabbit hole. Get out your composition notebooks and number 2 pencils and mark my words. Marvel's Avengers is the most forgettable story. You know me. I love the rail on the MCU about being formulaic. You wanna talk formulaic? This is as formulaic as it gets. You look up formulaic in the dictionary, it's gonna have a picture of Marvel's Avengers right next to it. I went overboard with Marvel's Avengers, read some of the comics, watched their little live streams. I even read some of those stupid little data pads you collect with all the little lore in Marvel's Avengers, and I cannot tell you a literal single thing about the story campaigns in Marvel's Avengers. It is so incredibly forgettable. Oh, well, that's not true. I do remember something at the very beginning. So the leading protagonist in our story is that Captain Marvel Junior, whatever, spin-off TV show on Disney Plus, and she gets her start by hacking into Iron Man's secret account from her laptop at her house by guessing his password.
You serious?
And the best part about it is that's the only thing I remember about the whole game. When I tell you that Marvel's Avengers is the most perfect example of how to make an ordinarily average game, I'm not just talking about the forgettable story. I'm talking about literally everything about Marvel's Avengers is absolutely crafted, curated to be the best example of what an average, ordinary, forgettable video game is. It's not the sort of game that you've played for 2 minutes and can already tell that it's gonna suck big time, but it's also nowhere near and absolutely under no circumstances associated with being a good game. No, Marvel's Avengers it's own thing. It took me forever to figure out what Halo was, between the real live guns, the stupid little mech armors they wear, the Star Wars aesthetics. I just was really confused as to what Halo is. But despite the mixed themes and otherwise jumbled ingredients, I've come to the conclusion that Halo is a good game. More than that, I've actually come to really like Halo. To give you an example, trying to figure out what Marvel's Avengers is like trying to outwit Moriarty, but you're Sherlock Gnomes, or like Daniel Craig's character from Knives Out, or maybe even Will Ferrell's Sherlock Holmes, I don't know. Basically what I'm trying to say is that it's extremely hard and almost impossible to find the right words to express what I'm trying to say. Maybe it'd be easier if you had somewhere to start, but you can't establish one definite thing about Marvel's Avengers. The combat's busted, don't get me started about the story, characters all over the place, exploration is awful. No, I mean it. Awful. And most importantly, it's not a good game. I'm not gonna waste your time, but it feels like they were trying to do too much. Between the gear systems and the ongoing service, they've got these little battle passes they call hero cards. What I'm trying to say is they tried to do too much and didn't do any one thing right. If this was anything else, this would indicate a bad game. I mean, usually this type of stuff you can't ignore. But there's something about it, I'm sure it has something to do with Marvel, disguising everything beneath its little protective blanket, that makes it seem like it's not actually as bad as it is. Maybe that's part of why it's so confusing, is that Marvel has it disguised as, oh, it's actually not this bad, when in actuality it is, so now you're being told two different things. Who do you believe? The solution is, take away Marvel from the equation and what do you got? It's not an unbearably bad game, but it's a tolerantly bad game. You're having to tolerate a lot of things when you play Marvel's Avengers. And that's what I'm sick and tired of. I'm tired of having to tolerate something that's supposed to be fun and engaging. I'm tired of having to make excuses for their shortcomings. I'm tired of having to cover for their slack. I'm tired of being let down whenever they fail to deliver or mis-execute their promises. It just gets to the point where it's not worth it. As fun as life may seem sometimes, a lot of the day-to-day stuff can get pretty boring. Sometimes when we can't afford a glamorous vacation or are too tired to go outside and actually do something, we need video games to give us some excitement, spice things up, reward us from a long and weary day. Video games allow us to escape this world. Video games allow us to forget our troubles. Video games provide a fleeting moment when we don't feel like ourselves. When you play a video game, you're taking somewhere else entirely, and that's just it. With Marvel's Avengers, I don't see myself escaping to anywhere I want to go. Especially as I explore the rich complexity of video games, I now no longer prioritize playing Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers doesn't feel like an escape from life, but rather an extension of it. Which is not at all to mean that life sucks, but if you're trying to escape from life, why go to something else that seems just like it, just poorly replicated? And seeing Marvel's Avengers as an extension of life, a different way of life, I can't give you a reason why I wouldn't want to escape this one also, except the difference between real life and Marvel's Avengers is that in real life, you can just load up a different video game. Marvel's Avengers, you just load into a different match. I retract my analogy, I'm using big words. Marvel's Avengers doesn't feel like an extension of life. It doesn't feel like life at all. Marvel's Avengers feels like death, a perpetual state of death. So until they make drastic changes or port Spider-Man onto a cross-platform, until they find something that fixes Marvel's Avengers, I am done with Marvel's Avengers.
No! Just die!
Characters can do certain things, it's mainly you can just dodge some of them. Please, why is every bullet beautiful?